After recording, I sort of went back home to Scotland and then worked loads in a bar, and then I was like, right, I'm going to come over for 3 weeks and have an extended period of time just to relax and walk around the city.
Is that your main gig, the bar?
Yeah, I do. I've been working in the same place in Glasgow, the Hug and Pint. A great little spot. It's a great venue, and it does food, and it's a pub as well. So I was working there loads, sort of between stopping touring the last album and then doing this one. So yeah, I've got like 4 months off doing that, and hopefully I can go back after.
You're tending the bar?
Yeah. It's a great place. It's like it's really good for musicians in the city. Like if you want to do anything creative, they let you just go away and do it, and other people cover. So it's a really relaxed, like makes all the staff happy.
Is the goal to make music a full-time thing?
Yeah, but I think having done music full time and I didn't work another job for like 4 years. Yeah. I wouldn't want to go back to that. I find it too boring. Like I know you get busy and like touring and it's tough and tiring, but I've started to realise like for your mental health it's much better to like be out and like working and interacting with people. I find it a bit isolating if you just stop working. So since I've been working a bunch in between tours, I'm keep that up.
What brought you out here initially? I know you guys did recording in a couple of places in the States.
Oh well, it seemed like the most exciting option, quite simply.
It's fun. I mean, obviously that's funny for me to hear because it's like, it's.
I know, but we hadn't done one here before, and it was kind of after like it really was a period of like us going like, shit, it might not happen again for us.
That you might not record another record.
Yeah, and honestly, that was what. Once it got to a point where we were like we knew what the plan was, what we were doing. Yeah. It was the four of us in a room playing these parts, and we had to finish the song as the four of us, and we didn't rely, like, weren't thinking like we'll do that in the studio or we could do this sound or this. Like there's no backing tracks really. It's just like the four of us. And once we hit that, it was like full steam ahead and getting ready to record. And it was just like choose the most exciting thing. So it was great. We spoke to John. He was really cool. He was sort of liking what we were saying, and we liked what he was saying, and then he suggested the 2 studios, and it was just like, that sounds great. The plan was to go over, do some in Philly, and then have like a week break. We did 6 shows in a row, and then we went to upstate New York to the Nationals place that they recorded their last album at, and it's just like a really nice quiet place. It was great. So we split up recording, and it was the most exciting option, and I think in the end that was what we just went with. It's like, let's go back to America.
How much does the setting actually influence the music making process?
It's really hard to say.
I mean, I have to imagine just the Hudson Valley versus Philadelphia. Obviously, I mean, they're both, within proximity of each other, but are very different places.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about the one in Philly, it was like in a residential area. So we went out for dinner, and
just had a nice quiet dinner.
Saw other people.
Yeah.
Whereas when we were upstate, it was a bit more like we just sort of stay in the whole time. I think I only left a couple of times, maybe once or something in like 3 weeks. So that is different, like making food in the house and I'll sort of just staying there the whole time. It is different vibes. But as far as like recording went, I don't know if it affected us, but we'd sort of written everything before we got out there, so it wasn't like we were like jamming and finding new grooves. It was like we just know what we're doing. We've got like 5 weeks to get it done. There's
something romantic though in the idea of sort of going out into the woods. I'm thinking about like the band and Bob Dylan or something. You know, like really sort of like secluding yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do like that way of working. I like that way. We demoed quite a few times during the 4 years, and we always went to this like remote cottage that was next to like a lake, and it was great just to go away for 4 or 5 days and like do that. I think we did our second record in Iceland, and I think we did maybe 3 full weeks, like 14, 15-hour days, and I was there a lot, and it was like it's too much.
Is it a positive though that you just, in a sense, you can't really escape the music?
It is. I like how that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
And aside from having your lunch and your dinner, that's all you think about, really.
There's so many distractions in life in general. Yeah. It's hard to sort of wood shop.
Yeah, and if you're not away or you're not secluded, then people can, I've got a family dinner tonight, or like there's always something that you could get away.
This sense that you might not ever make another record again, is that something that sort of dawns on you after every album, or is that specific to this one?
No, that was specific to this one. I think we had a 3-record album deal with Fat Cat, so it was always just like, right, we're going to do the next one.
It was just a given up till that point.
Yeah, and I think I definitely, I don't know about the other guys, but maybe I've got a bit complacent about what we were doing, and really just being like, oh, this is just what we're doing.
It felt like a job.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, the first album did okay, so let's just keep doing that, not thinking too much. And then it's just like, with this one, with everything sort of changing after like that record deal ending, and just a few things sort of behind the scenes changed, and it was just like this is a point to sort of reflect, and just definitely more appreciative of these chances now.
You sit down with the band and you basically have that conversation. It's almost like a relationship conversation of like...
We seem to have the conversation where we all reach the conclusion like separately. Yeah. And then someone says it and everyone's like, yeah, I've been thinking about that.
The conclusion that it might not continue?
Yeah, and that everyone does want it to continue. Yeah. That all seems to happen at the same time for the four of us. So it's good that we never really have like three people thinking one thing and someone like thinking the other. It's just kind of, often the conversations start like halfway through, like the whole thought process, and then you just agree at the end. It's like, yeah.
It's been the four of you since the beginning?
Yeah, there was someone on the last record. We had a fifth guy, a friend from home. But we sort of went back to the fourth one for this.
Is there a sense, though, that if, maybe one of those pieces does leave, that you won't be able to carry on in this formation?
Yeah, I think we're all aware of that. Yeah. It's like if one person stops doing it, then I really think it's not the same band anymore, because we all play a huge part in writing the music. It would be weird, and the whole like band dynamics, it's been like 15 years of hanging out. Like, we know what's happening, and if to lose someone and introduce someone else, I just think it would be weird. I think we have spoke about if someone left, then we'd just stop, because it's just like, well, that's that.
It really is like a relationship. You get to a certain point after a few years where you have to sort of figure out how to, I mean, you're in a new relationship, so it's a little bit different, but where you have to figure out how to like inject something exciting into it.
Yeah. For us, that was just to be like, right, fuck everything. Yeah. It's the four of us. We have to like prove our worth and prove that we're a good band, and just write songs that are like completely us. And that was a huge turning point.
You felt like the last couple of records wasn't necessarily you writing that way?
Yeah, and it was last minute, and I was writing lyrics like at the studio when like I was recording the next day. So like even just feeling out the words, I had like the melodies, but even just like that, it takes a while for that to bed in and to sound like natural. So I think for the last couple, maybe just weren't prepared enough. But with this one, the idea was always just to take time. And when we had this stuff ready to record, we'd do it. So it was really liberating, and that gave us a big injection of energy. It was like, right, this is what we're doing. And we had to just be like, we are like tunnel vision, we are going to do an album, and we're going to tour again.
It's liberating, but there's also a lot of pressure there of like every single thing we do needs to mean something to us.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe what we lacked for the last couple albums, or like at any point during our career. And I think you need that.
It's a hard line to walk. And maybe there's something to be said for just sort of writing something on the fly, that sort of external pressure. I mean, if that doesn't exist, you can spend forever working on something.
Yeah, but it was clear when these songs were done. Yeah. It was like once we had like 9 or 10, it was like, okay, let's get the wheels in motion to book stuff. So it really was only when we were ready.
So when you look back on those records in the interim, I mean, surely you must feel proud of some of the stuff that's on it, but do you feel like they're not necessarily up to the standard of maybe the first record or the new record?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel with all of them that they're not that great. But it's really different with this one because I really like it.
Did you have that feeling after they were done?
I
mean, obviously things change.
It's hard to. You just sort of convince yourself that it's good.
Yeah. Okay. But this feels different somehow.
This does feel different, and yeah, it does feel different. And feel totally positive about it. I think we've absolutely captured what we intended, and I don't think we've ever done that before.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we've just got lucky, but it's come out the way that we wanted it to, and the way it sounds, and the way it feels, and the way we've presented it. I feel is exactly what we were wanting.
How long was the songwriting process from beginning to end?
Like 4 years.
4 years.
But there was.
So it was really since the last record.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 3 years, 3.5 years. But it was sort of a couple of songs came along, and then there was a bunch of ones that we tried something else, and then that didn't really stick. And then it was maybe like 2.5, 3 years before we were like, we found our groove and knew what we were doing. And then since then, it's been like, every song that we've written we've kept, whereas beforehand we scrapped like maybe 10. So it was just like, oh, we've hit on what we're meant to be doing, and then it's just like everyone knew that we just really had to consider everyone's parts. We wanted everything to be like working with each other, So yeah, we really thought about this one, and I think we communicated with each other far better on this one. There was a lot more talking about it, and like, what are you doing with this? Or like, I think sometimes the nature of our rehearsals and the way we write, it's like we're in a room, and we've got like, we're around in a circle, and we've got amps pointing in, and it's all blasting. And like, sometimes you just try to play as loud as you can so you can hear yourself.
You're trying to top the other person.
Yeah, it's an absolute racket. So that's the way we've always kind of written. We just didn't worry about the songs. We would just like play them together like for like 30 minutes, an hour, and then just go like, well, what was good about that? I liked when you did that, and that sort of thing. So it was, it felt like a grown-up way of doing it.
I've talked to a lot of bands, and there's a consensus with most of them that to a certain degree, a band sort of has to be a little bit dictatorial, that, you know, one person really needs to take charge of things. I mean, obviously, in an ideal situation, you want it to be fully democratic, but at the end of the day, one person needs to sort of captain the ship. Yeah,
I don't feel like that about our band. Especially, I think, since it's sort of like, we kind of developed this, like, the whole world was against us attitude, and we're like, we're just going to, like, fuck it, we're going to do it for ourselves, and like, and it's ended up being like, we all do stuff. I used to be a bit bossy, maybe, or like, I'd throw a huff if the drummer couldn't practice. I'd be annoyed at him, but now, like, if there's a decision we need to make, I just ask the drummer, like, what do you think? And he'll say something like, yeah. Sounds like a good response. And then, so it's really easy.
Does that feeling though that the world is against you, does that like go away? Your first album did really well.
We've always liked that.
And even when people are like noticing you and loving the band, you still have that feeling?
Yeah, I love that feeling. I love being like just going on and like just trying to angry, just like flash through your set. We love playing live like that. Like you're wanting to impress, but you don't give a shit. Halfway in between.
You're just trying to sort of please yourself and each other at the end of the day. What were those new things that you were trying in the meantime? You said you tried something new with the new songs.
Yeah, it was like strange. It was like strange.
You just wanted to like fuck it up a little bit?
Well, we kind of, by fucking up, we tried to go like really simple and like have structured songs and, you know, not really let it flow and think about, try to write riffs and melodies and words that I thought would maybe sell records.
You were thinking about what would be successful.
Yeah. Which we had never done before. And I think we were like, kind of thought that's what you're meant to do after like a certain amount of time touring and recording. Like you need to try and like push yourself to the next level, which of course is, you know, if you can do it, great, good on you, but it just sounded horrible for us.
How long have you guys been together for?
Like 14, 15 years.
That's right at the point. I mean, granted, you guys were in high school when you started, but 15 years is right around the point, maybe 10 to 15 years, where people start taking a look at themselves, and if they don't feel like they're getting to that next level, sort of questioning whether it makes sense to go forward. Yeah,
so that's exactly what we went through. Yeah, seems to be what happens. I wish we spoke to more bands a few years older than us.
But are you able to look at what you've achieved and be happy with that level of success? I mean, obviously everyone wants to be bigger.
I'm not unhappy about it, but I don't think... We've been successful in terms of how much we've enjoyed it and how nice the people are that come and see us and travel and chat to us. It's great. We aren't at the level that I would like to be playing bigger shows and to more people and to be doing it, like writing music more. So you just kind of... There's always the next level. Whatever happens, and you're always just straining for the next thing.
It's easy to get complacent and take things for granted, but I suspect, especially when you spend like it wasn't 4 years away from it because you were still touring, but there was a decent sized gap in between. You do start to miss it.
Yeah, exactly. It was like 2 years. We'd done a small tour in the UK of like 6-7 shows, and the same in the States, but it'd been like 2 years since we'd done a big run, and we were all sort of working other jobs, and it's just like playing our basement for so long writing songs, and it's just like it has been really exciting, the build up of getting everything together, because it's not like we have a huge team around us. We're like directly involved with everything, so it's like we need a few select number of people to work really hard for us. So it's exciting for them as well, because like our management, and my mum does she's our business manager. So it's just like she's getting everything together, like tour accounts, speaking to our accountant over here. And it's just like, it's exciting for everyone to like see this thing that we've created together, and it's going out and we're getting to tour. And it's exciting.
So she's supportive of what you do?
Absolutely, yeah. All our parents come to like gigs all over wherever we play, and they've all been super supportive. And they're all pals as well.
You started at a Battle of the Bands in high school.
Yeah, well, that was the first time the drummer Darren, bassist Sean, and me and I played together. Mike joined the band on that day, but like obviously hadn't rehearsed with us. And then we did our first full gig in like April 2004 or something like that.
So when does it transition from being like a fun thing at a talent show to actually being a real thing?
It was just very gradual. You just play any gig that you can, and then you realise you should just do select ones, and then you try and play further afield, and if you get lucky you get a good label like Fat Cat. And it was weird when we signed to them. I didn't even really think about what would happen after we recorded the album, and then just like getting emails that, oh, you're going to go on a 6-week tour, and it's like, oh, all right. I guess I'll do this for a while. And it's just been going ever since.
From the outside, at least, Scotland seems like a good place to start a band. Everybody seems really supportive of one another over there. I mean, everyone's touring with each other. Obviously, like Fat Cat is very friendly with all the bands there.
Yeah, and there's a whole new generation of musicians now that are doing the same and are super supportive of each other. And yeah, a lot of people have like the similar influences because there's not like a ton of bands and it's not a huge area. So yeah, it's all quite close.
Especially that first record, I think you were getting a lot of comparisons to like Frightened Rabbit, for instance. Did you feel like you were kind of in the shadow of these fellow bands?
Yeah, I mean, that always annoyed us a bit at the time.
Obviously, there are much worse things to be compared to.
Yeah, and we were just too close to it, and we're like, no, we're way different. But like, of course we're similar. I idolized them. I thought they're unbelievable. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely accept that. And it was at times annoying if it was like that was all you got compared to. Like, you soon to realise that it's not a big deal.
Is that one of the things though that drives you to try something new, to kind of get out from under that shadow?
It's just boredom. It's just not wanting to do the same thing. It's not really like, that's not really a deciding factor of where we want to go. We're not that shallow about it.
When you look at the songs on the new record, how do they feel different to you?
They feel much more organic, and they feel like we've played them a lot and we completely understand it. I always like when you're recording and if a producer asks you why something is like how it is, like if something's weird or something doesn't make sense, they ask you and you know that you've done your homework if you know exactly why this thing is like it is, if this guitar part is doing this thing, because you've already been through it and discussed it.
Organic's an interesting word because you want things to feel like they just flow, and maybe at a certain point if you're able to dissect it like that, I mean, maybe it loses a little bit of the spark.
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel like sort of analytically you can look and explain why everything is the way it is on the record? Yeah, and I just think it's like it's a considered record. I think we've really thought about it, and just really, really proud of it. So you're going on tour?
I leave tomorrow to go to Portland, Maine, and then the next day. First show's on Wednesday.
You're basically conquering the US for the next 2 months?
Absolutely conquering, yeah.
Right now, I mean, you're kind of in the resting stage, but how do you ramp up for something like that?
Just make sure you have all your own stuff.
Meaning?
You have your pedals, you have your capos, you have your in-ears.
All the gear, yeah.
Because you don't want to be the person that forgets something and you got to drive to Guitar Center on the first day. Everyone hates that guy. So just get yourself prepared. I don't really do anything to prepare my voice or get ready for tour. Just make sure I got enough clean clothes to last a few weeks.
But you're already lamenting the last day of the tour that you have to wake up the next morning. So you're already thinking pretty far ahead.
Yeah.
By the end of the tour, how wrecked are you?
Exhausted, but you don't really realize until a few days after you're home. You don't really realize when you're out there. Because it's just the same. Yeah, it's just the same every day, and it's the same routine, and you just get through it, and you power on, and then you get drunk if you want to get drunk, or you stay sober if you want to get sober. Or you just like get through it, and then you're always like, once you get home and you're relaxed for a couple of days, you're like, fucking hell.
Do you have to decide at the beginning of the tour whether it's going to be a drunk tour or a sober tour?
Sometimes, yeah. I've asked for less bourbon this time.
Is that just a personal choice, or how do you decide?
I don't know, there's no great meeting. It's usually just personal if you want to go for it or not.
How does drinking impact the shows?
I stopped drinking before shows just to really pay most respect to the audience. Yeah. I think sometimes like if you've got a really nice bourbon and you just like start drinking like 10 minutes earlier than you did the day before, and before you know it you're just like a bit bored, so it's like, oh, it's 3 o'clock, I'll have a nice icy bourbon. So you just kind of I just stopped drinking before shows just so I would can play the best I can.
I talk to a lot of artists who, especially early on, who kind of need that as a little bit of extra courage to loosen up and get out on stage.
No, we've never needed that, just love playing.
There you go. That was Adam Thompson of We Were Promised Jetpacks, their new record,
The More I Sleep, The Less I Dream is out now on Big Scary Monsters. Thanks so much to him for taking time to do that. Thanks to Caroline for helping set up that conversation. Thanks to you guys, as always, for listening to the program. If you like the show, there are a number of ways to support us. You can rate and review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you happen to get your podcasts. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Tumblr. That's rolcast.tumblr.com. That is the first and best place to get all of your RIYL related information. And that's about all we got for this week. So thanks for listening. I hope you all had some happy holidays, and stick around because we're going to be back in a few days with another episode of RIYL.